Move on to leaders' questions. I call on the leader of Sinn Féin, Deputy Marylou McDonald, please.
Taoiseach, this morning it's being reported that Cabinet couldn't agree the summer economic statement yesterday due to disagreements at Government about funding for housing in advance of Budget 2022. And while this is very alarming news to those of us who want to see a massive increase in the construction of family homes, it's not surprising given the track record of this Government over 10 years, including your own track record propping up Fine Gael under your so-called confidence and supply deal, during which you claimed you had secured a housing budget year after year. Well, you didn't. What you did is acquiesce with Fine Gael housing policy at every turn, and you're still at it. Continuing with Fine Gael's failed models of housing delivery, including long-term leasing, which represents nothing but bad value for the taxpayer. In May, Taoiseach, it was also reported that there was another disagreement at Cabinet. On that occasion, Fine Gael leader Leo Varadkar pushed back when you suggested that government should make housing its #1 priority. And now it seems that his Fine Gael colleague and Finance Minister Paschal Donoghue is now not content with signing off on an increase in the funding to be allocated for housing. And this is incredible, Taoiseach. The level of present funding is woefully inadequate, and anyone with an ounce of wit or any sense of the depths of the housing crisis knows that. And don't just take my word for that. Last month, the ESRI called on your government to double capital investment in public housing, to provide €4 billion annually to deliver 18,000 public houses and homes that workers and families can afford and on public land. And of course, we in Sinn Féin have been telling you this for years, because this is the scale of what is required to tackle this crisis. Taoiseach, when you were in opposition, you signed up to the 2018 Dáil motion from the Raise the Roof campaign, do you remember? Which also called for this doubling of investment in public housing. And during the general election of 2020, you campaigned on a commitment to deliver 20,000 social and affordable homes every year for 5 years. But once you joined Fine Gael in government, you very quickly abandoned those promises and once again fell under the shadow of Fine Gael's failed housing policies. Budget 2021 saw the same inadequate level of investment in social and affordable housing as all of the budgets before. And this year, Taoiseach, things must change. Now you must finally listen to us. Listen to the advice of Sinn Féin, listen to the ESRI, and more recently to the NTMA and the Society of Chartered Surveyors. The number of voices calling on you to do the right thing in housing grows ever wider and louder. So my question, Taoiseach, to you is simple. Will you now commit to doubling capital investment in social and affordable homes, to deliver at least 20,000 homes that workers and families desperately need and rightly deserve? And can you confirm that this will in fact form part of the summer economic statement, or is it the fact that your partners in government are pushing this back and preventing it from happening?
Thank you, Deputy. Taoiseach, please.
Well, again, Deputy, your facts are wrong, your alleged facts, and there is no disagreement in terms of the prioritisation of housing by this government. And in fact, over the last month or so, we have seen manifestation of the Minister for Housing's commitment to radically change approaches in relation to housing, in terms of social housing, in terms of affordable housing, in terms of cost rental, in terms of getting voids back in much more quickly, and in a whole range of supports for people to enable them to buy their own houses. But the key issue will be supply. The key issue will be supply. And the summer economic statement will outline the broad fiscal framework. The National Development Plan will outline the very significant capital investment that this government is going to undertake. And the Housing for All strategy that the Minister will publish will equally outline a step change in terms of the construction of housing, social, affordable, right across the board in terms of what's required and what is needed. Because we all know we need to build more houses. That is the key point. Now, you've asked me to listen to you, and with the greatest of respect, I've heard you pontificate about housing on an ongoing basis, but you come up with very few solutions, if any, because for you, this is a political game. For you, your politics, in my view, is fraudulent in terms of what you're doing here. You want to exploit housing for electoral gain and no other reason. You don't ever come forward with substantive, clear solutions, but you oppose a lot and you speak out against a lot of initiatives that are taken. I don't know whether you want me to listen to you and your party when you continue to oppose houses up and down the country. Is that the advice you want me to take? To stop the thousands of houses that you've opposed and voted against and stopped in Dublin, for example? Is that the advice you want me to take from your party? Are you really sincere about wanting more houses built when you've stopped social houses and affordable houses in Tala, in Clondalkin, in Donabate, in Swords? Is that the advice you want me to take from you? 22,000 people benefited from Help to Buy. You opposed Help to Buy. The Minister came forward in the last while with affordable housing initiatives. You railed against them. Now, I've noticed, despite you railing against them, you quietly voted for them. Interesting. It illustrates the degree to which this is a political game for you. There's a lack of sincerity at the heart of what you are about when it comes to the housing problem. Because you say one thing in here and you do something alternative when it counts on the ground in terms of various projects because you're afraid of losing local electoral support. So the Housing for All strategy will represent the largest investment in social housing in the history of the state over a sustained period. It will also represent a very significant state intervention in providing affordable homes on state land for people who need to be able to access houses that are affordable. It will also outline supports for people who are in the market to buy houses, particularly younger people. The Minister has already moved in terms of rents, in terms of the rent pressure zones, that rents would not be able to be increased anymore beyond inflation into the future. He has moved on that. On homelessness, there has been a 48% reduction in terms of family homelessness in the last 12 months. Now, that's good progress, but it's not enough. We want to do more, and we have to do more in terms of homelessness and also in terms of getting people access to housing of all types. I think the cost rental initiative is a very good initiative. That will make progress, and that will expand in the coming while also. And the legislation that has come through the House the last 6 weeks that you railed against, in terms of land development agencies, will make a difference in terms of house construction in this country.
Deputy McDonald.
Ceann Comhairle, no amount of personalised invective or ducking and diving and failing to answer questions can disguise the fact that this administration, under the leadership of Taoiseach Micheál Martin, is failing and failing miserably, most especially in the area of housing. And the Taoiseach's response and the manner in which he bristles at the notion of being held to account as the head of government is nothing short of extraordinary. So let me repeat my question to you. Will the summer economic statement contain the kind of resources that we need to tackle affordable and social housing, which people desperately need? Your programme for government also commits you to examining the issues of defective housing. This was to be done within the first 12 months of government, actually in response to a report by my colleague Owen O'Brien, Safe as Houses, through the Housing Committee. This will require resourcing. as will the commitment to the people of Donegal and Mayo and beyond in respect of the Mica scandal and the need for 100% redress. The media also suggests that the working group in respect of defects is behind schedule. And it was also suggested that the Department for Housing is trying to limit redress options. Is that true? In other words, Taoiseach, will we have the resources that we desperately need to tackle the housing crisis?
Deputy, thank you. Taoiseach.
The issue in terms of tackling the housing crisis will not be one of resources, it will be one of delivery. Getting projects built, Deputy. Getting them built in Tala, getting them built in Clondalkin, getting them built in Galway, Cork and around the country. And that means that parties such as yours no longer have the luxury of opposing significant housing projects when it suits you to do so for votes on the ground. And you have never responded to the points I've made to you in that regard, and I've listed them all out. 975 homes being built in Clondalkin, you opposed it. 500 homes in Tala, 278 in Swords, 1,200 in Donabate. You've never explained to me how you think opposing those projects advance the need to increase supply. Because we do not have enough supply.
This is actually questions to the head of government. If you want to swap seats with me, I'm more than happy to do that. But I would prefer that you answer the questions that I have put to you. No, Count Corla. We have had, sorry, Count Corla, with respect, we have had session after session in which the head of government will not answer questions.
I lead a government that will invest more. I lead a government that will invest more in social housing than any other in history. I lead a government that will get the state and local authorities building homes again, despite your objections. And I lead a government that will face you down and everybody else who tries to just exploit housing for your own electoral advancement.
Please.
Good man.
Could I ask you, please, if you could stick to the time allowed? I don't make up the rules around.
Corla, I appreciate that. Corla, I really appreciate this, and my dispute is not with you, nor anybody else on the opposition benches. But we have a Taoiseach who
this is out of order. It's out of order what's going on here,
to answer questions, and who reacts in that hysterical manner when he is held to account. It's truly shocking.
Please resume your seat.